Hello, it's Stanzione here with a special video update. I'm going to give you a financial markets review, and I'm also going to show you where I'm investing in right now, as well as inviting you to the new Millionaire Trader group, which is just about to start. All right, before we get started, the usual disclaimers. Any sort of shares or ETFs that I'm showing here are for information purposes only. Obviously, you can make these trades if you wish to go ahead, but as I say, this is really for information purposes only. All right, so let's go a little bit back before we look forward to the next few months. And the thing with me, whatever you say, I tell you as it is. And I've been around a long time. I've been in the markets for over 33 years. There's not many people that have got that track record. Millionaire Trader has been going since 2007. So, been around a long time. So back in just actually before November the 10th was when Trump was re-elected. And you can Google me, by the way. If you put why the Dow will rally 30% under President Trump, see what you get. And while many people were negative on the stock market, I was bullish. I was already bullish. And what I said was that under Trump, whether you like him or not, he will be good for the stock market. And I was looking for stocks to go up around 30%. Now, that was actually in his first term, in his first 4 years. In fact, it's done better than expected. And as you probably know, the Dow hit 26,000 quite recently before coming back off a little bit. Now, the Dow was 18,000 when I said buy at the end of October 2016. But as I say, you don't have to take my word for it. So what I'm saying is what I was looking for back in November has been achieved. Now, if we look at the last 20 years or so of the Dow, stocks have done a lot better. And in fact, I'm going to talk more about the US markets, and you might be in the UK or Europe. The US is my main market. It's the biggest market, and that's where we predominantly trade. But of course, a lot of this also does sort of go for other markets as well. But I'm going to stick mainly to the US markets. And the Dow, as I say, over the last 20 years, stocks have done a lot better than most people realize. And, as soon as you get a little bit of a pullback, everyone's trying to say, oh my gosh, that's the end of it. That's not the case. And in fact, a lot of people that spread bet with people like IG Index, for instance, they have got it wrong, and they've been losing money consistently trying to bet the markets to go down. Now, on IG, you can actually see what other customers are doing. Now, this was done a little while back, but just to give you an idea, when I did this snapshot, 74% was short Germany, which is the DAX, Wall Street, which is the Dow, 84% was short. So it gives you an idea, majority of customers were short. Now, here's a tip. When the majority of IG customers are doing something, you can be pretty certain, of course it's not guaranteed, but certainly you can be pretty certain that markets will probably do the opposite. That's something to have a look at. The S&P 500, which is a better market to look at because it's broader, it's 500 stocks, but they do tend to move together, has done very well. And again, a lot of this has been to do with quantitative easing. And, some people that probably know me the last few years say, oh, you're always bullish. Well, I do make money from markets going down as well. It's just that the last few years, that has been the smart way to make money by basically, trading markets to go up. And of course, with low interest rates and with quantitative easing, it's been basically, you just got to be there and pick up the money. Now, some of you will say, well, no, this is coming towards an end. But of course, there are still plenty of opportunities. Now, the next market is the NASDAQ 100. As I'm filming this, we're actually at a new all-time high. In fact, if you go back here, this was the .com 2000, then we had the big crash, and then in fact we've more than covered back there. And what's interesting about the NASDAQ 100, and you can trade this via the QQQ, which is an exchange traded fund, it's obviously exposed to a lot of technology shares. It's got some biotech companies in there as well. As I filmed it, Apple is the biggest holding, followed by Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Alphabet, which is the old Google, the big holdings. And obviously, if these stocks are doing well, then the NASDAQ 100 will do well. And as I say, that's been the best market so far, still remains a strong market. Even when the Dow has been down the last month or so, the NASDAQ has held up pretty well, which shows that obviously money is still chasing, it still wants to go into technology shares. Now, long-term stocks have been a great place to put your money. Again, I do believe we're going to have a few more volatile months. We already started off the year a little bit more volatile than certainly 2017. However, if you just sort of think out and look and remember this chart, and by the way, I've emailed you all these as well, so you'll have these in your email. if you look at this going all the way back to 1900, you'll basically see that overall stocks have been a good place to put your money, and I still believe they are a good place to have your money. Now, Warren Buffett, he knows a thing or two about making money. For over 240 years, it's been a terrible mistake to bet against America. This was from one of his letters, the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders letter, and I think now is not the time to start betting against the States. Yeah, of course, there's always possibilities of trade wars and all sorts of things. But overall, as I say, stocks, are holding up. Yes, we might get some pullbacks and we can make some money from those, but don't get into this doom and gloom sort of mentality, because everybody that's done that in the last 20, 30, 50 years has lost money. And I say those betting on crashes, end of the world, overall, they've lost money. On the subject of Berkshire Hathaway, it's not a bad share. You can spread bet it, and you can also just buy it more as a longer term hold. And by investing in there, you obviously get into all the Berkshire companies, many of which are private, so you can't actually buy shares in it. It's got a heavy exposure to financials. It was up about 20% in 2017. So far, 2008 up about 7%. You're not going to make oodles on Berkshire Hathaway, but at the same time, a 15-20% type a year return, not bad sort of stock that you might want to put into an ISA or a long-term account or a SIP. But as I say, it's not a bad place to have some money. Now, let's talk about opportunities and risks for the rest of 2018, certainly for the next few months. Now, I'm not going to be sort of all, rose-tinted glasses and say, yeah, it's going to be all plain sailing. We already have started the year a little bit bumpier. However, I'm not scared of that. I don't mind sort of volatile markets. And in fact, I thrive on them. I profit from them. So, it's always about reward and risk and balancing those up. But as I say, I still see plenty of opportunities for the rest of the year. Now, you probably think, oh my gosh, it only seemed like yesterday it was an election. Well, in November, it's going to be the midterm election in the States. Of course, not as important as the big election, but it still, can make a difference to the House, between the Democrats and votes. However, whatever you say about Trump is, and I know a lot of people in polls and that say maybe they don't like him, he has got a firm grip, and I don't think that's going to change. Now, historically, midterm elections, and the easiest way to remember a midterm election or an election year is an even year, haven't done as well as odd years, and I'll show you a chart on the next slide. So the only little saviour is that years that end in 8 have tended to done better. So midterm elections ending in 8 have done better. But I'll show you on the next chart. So obviously by the time you're sort of watching this, we're roughly about April. We are getting into the seasonally weak period. However, there's still plenty of opportunities. Then we go into the strong period. In fact, the midterm election will be the 6th of November, off memory. And then we start going into the stronger year-end period. But there's still plenty of opportunities to make money over the summer months as well. However, what I will say, I don't think the S&P is going to go up 20% as it did in 2007. Now, it could, I'll be pleasantly surprised. However, where I think we're going to make our money for the rest of this year is picking and mixing actual stocks. All right, let's have a look at this chart. And what I've done here, these are actually trading days. Obviously, once you strip out the weekends and a few holidays, the line is roughly where we are right now. And as I said, the odd years, which is this orange line, tend to do better than the even years. And obviously we're into an even year because an even year is a midterm election or a full election. Now, our seasonal system, the system that I follow, actually went long on the 16th of October, and it's still long right now. So, as I say, it could be a little bit choppier over the summer months, but there are still opportunities. And then as we're getting to the end of the year, we see from day 210 here, which is around November time, this is when markets tend to be stronger, then go into the Christmas sort of Santa Claus rally. Now, as I say, the way that I make money, and this is my account or one of my accounts so far this year, or going into the last, it's the last 6 months, is I don't really care about what the Dow, the S&P, or the Nasdaq do. Yeah, it's always good if those indices are moving in my direction. But the way that I make big gains is not picking the index, is by picking stocks. And just an example here, stock I've held for a while is Boeing. BA is the ticker in the States. 270,000 invested, is now 709,000, and that's 160% profit. And that's a real trade. That's not made up money. And what I'm trying to say is, yeah, an index can move 20% a year, which is actually quite a good year. A stock can move 100, 200, 500%, as I'll show you as we go through the presentation. So you can make a lot more in individual stocks than you can in just the index. And if you're on a smaller account, you'd be much better off focusing on individual stocks. Now, this is interesting. It's an exchange traded fund which is actually focused on Chinese internet stocks. And a lot of people, they focus on Facebook, Google, Netflix, that type of thing. There's a lot of companies, obviously, that you might have not heard of, which are obviously China-based. Many of these are actually listed in the States, and you can spread bet the individual shares. But KWeb is a basket of Chinese internet stocks. I believe that's still got a very good potential to go. It's come a long way. It's almost doubled since 2017, but I believe that's still a strong basket of stocks to have a look at. This is a little share which I shared with my Millionaire Trader members. Now, of course, you become a member for Millionaire Trader, you will get these exact opportunities. When I'm investing, I will tell you about it. This was a stock which was $8, and it's over $40 now, and it's still an interesting stock, and it's called Bosun. BZUN is the ticker. It's listed in the States, and again, this is just a snippet of what I actually told my members, and in fact it's done a lot better than what I expected. So that's just staying with the Chinese internet stock theme. Now, as I say, I think it's a pick and mix sort of business, and of course we can also short individual shares as well. So nothing says you can't go long Apple and short GE. Both Dow stocks. Instead of just looking at the Dow, you can actually say, I'll go short these 5 stocks and I'll go long another 5 stocks. And you can spread bet all these very, very easily, or just buy them through, a normal sort of broker. So don't just focus on the index, focus on individual shares. Now, I'll tell you exactly where I've made the majority of my money in 2018. In fact, not just 2018. In the last 10 years, I've done very, very well from biotech. And again, once you join me, you'll be able to see all my updates, and you can fact check me, and you can see what I've been doing in the biotech sector. Now, what happens specifically in biotech, but also with smaller cap shares as well, the big companies take over the small ones. So with a lot of small biotech companies, they don't make any money. They only have so much money. And then once they've got a decent drug, they will sell out or partner with one of the big pharmaceutical companies. Now, for us as shareholders, that's great news, because we get taken over or we get shares in the new company. Either way, we actually make money, and I'm expecting a lot more deals in 2018. We did very well in 2017. Now, these are some of the biggest moves, not all necessarily takeovers. There are a few takeovers in here, but these are the biggest moves so far. These are all biotech companies. And just to be clear, this isn't the whole year return. This is just from the 1st of January until when I'm filming this, which is just towards the end of March. So really, in less than 90 trading days, we're talking some serious gains. And of course, there's some risk here as well. I'm not saying you put all your money into a small biotech company, but if you sort of spread the risk, that can go further. This is one which I've done very, very well, and it's called CRSP, which is a Swiss company, which is into gene editing. And I say that's up 141% so far this year. That's actually listed in America, but it is actually a Swiss company. Cryptocurrencies, some of you know, I'm less active now than I was, just because I made so much money in cryptocurrencies in 2017. I've just been a little bit more cautious in 2018. And in fact, I've made a bit of money on the short side in 2018. This was a good little cartoon, I know what he's thinking. And, it's only less than 1% of my wealth is in cryptocurrency, so it's still a small part. However, I did make over 1.2 million last year in cryptocurrencies, so that was pretty decent money. And in fact, I had a seminar towards the end of the year. I had John McAfee, Tom Lee, who is very respected in the cryptocurrency market. And in fact, if you're still interested in that, just drop me an email and I can tell you more. So As well as obviously just telling you about my normal shares in the Millionaire Trader, I will give you some pointers on cryptocurrencies as well, give you an update a little bit about what I'm trading. But as I say, the majority of my focus right now is individual stocks. However, as I say, there is still money to be made in cryptocurrencies. And in fact, I'll show you one of my trades, which I did earlier this year, which is actually short Bitcoin. And this is actually, in fact, we shorted it all the way down to 6,000. And if you can see, you probably know this is an IG index account. That's 72,000 in profit off a £15 bet. Now, of course, you can do as little as £1 or £2 a point. And again, this is why I update 6th of February 2018. Interesting, I wasn't even in the UK at that time. I was in Asia. Just a quick, follow-up update, and just telling my customers that take your profits here of 6,000 on Bitcoin. So we did very, very well on that trade. And of course, then what's interesting, what we can do with the profits we make from that trade, we can obviously put them forward to another trade. I'll talk a little bit more about compounding, because I think it's important you understand how I've made my wealth. It's not from just one trade. Now, this was an interesting little study, and it backs up much of my own work. And although this is done in the States, I doubt it if it's different in the UK or Europe. And the majority of Americans are going to retire broke. And by broke, they're saying those that have 10% or less, 10,000 or less. Well, to be honest, I actually think anyone that's got 100,000 or less in retirement is certainly not going to be living large, especially with inflation, whatever the government tells you. So I would say there's a huge percentage of the American population that are not saving or investing enough. And in fact, I would probably say the same goes for the UK as well. And in fact, you can Google this. The nice thing about me, you can check everything. Although I wrote it a while back, just put "don't want to eat dog food in retirement," my name, or probably just put that and it'll come up. And I did a little write-up, and that was, say, so nearly 5 years ago now, just telling people that literally, you've got to start investing smarter, or not just sitting in cash. Otherwise, you're going to end up in that broke bracket. This was another study that was done, and it was basically saying what happens, and I see this, maybe you're doing the same as well. You're holding too much cash, you're earning 1 or 2%, maybe 3% tops if you're lucky, and then some of it you're investing elsewhere. You've got to have a much more balanced approach, rather than expecting a little bit of money to make so much money to cover all the funds you've got earning 1 or 2%. So really, there's one thing you take away from my presentation today, is you've got to be a lot smarter with your money. The good news is the chances are you are going to live longer, and that's great, especially with all this biotech, what's going on. But the problem is that a lot of people, they're going to be living longer, but they're going to be broke, and I hate to use the term, they're going to be eating dog food. These are stocks that say over the long term, and you see stocks have done far, far better. In fact, small caps have been some of the best place to invest in. And what this chart here is interesting, and this sort of thing that I'll go through and teach you in the Millionaire Trader program, is the difference between reinvesting the dividend. So if you just took the dividends and spent them, you'd have 228,000. But if you reinvested the dividends, I bought more stock, you'd have nearly $1 million. So quite a difference. And again, this is the way that I've made my money. I never started off wealthy. Some of you know I used to earn £100 a week working as a junior back in 1985. But what I've been good at is, one, saving money, and two, taking money from one deal and putting it into another. And this was, some of you probably seen some of this before, like compounding. But if you was to double a penny every day, how much would you have? Well, you'd have over 5 million within a month. Now, of course, I'm not saying double that every day, but it's to give you an idea of how we can make money in one deal, and then it goes into another, and it compounds up. And that's the way we make profit. And obviously, $1 million today or 1 cent today, double for 30 days. Well, which one's better. So how would you like to follow my trades and get full support and start making serious money? And you say, well, yeah, of course I want to do that. Well, you've got the opportunity. There are not many self-made multimillionaires who you can email, who will answer you back, or you can follow his trades. I hate to say it, I like to think I'm still pretty much down to earth and approachable. Now, if you go to www.millionaire-trader.com. You can read more. There's a little video interview there. Now, I spend very little time in the UK. Time you're actually watching this, I'm actually in Asia. So, but I will be in the UK on the 1st of June, which is a Friday. And if you sign up for the Millionaire Trader, you can come and have lunch with me in Westminster in London. So we can get you started on the Millionaire Trader straight away. But while I'm in London, you're welcome to come along. I'm buying, and we'll spend basically, from about 12 o'clock to about 5:30. I'll go through any questions you have and go through another presentation similar to this. And by that time, you'd have already had the package, so yeah, I can go through any questions with you. So let me explain a little bit how you benefit from the Millionaire Trader Group. So it's home study materials, all USB and online. We don't do DVDs anymore. You get access to my trades, newsletters, personal support, account reviews. So when you first start, I can go through a review with you, see what stocks you have, what accounts you have. As I say, it's very personal. What you're trying to achieve might be different to another member. You can spend the day live with me. As I say, I'll be there on the 1st of June. You get access to 2-day seminars, which I had last year, together with hosts, guests Jim Mellon, who's a very smart guy, and Jeff Hirsch from Stock Traders Almanac. So the easiest way to put it, if I can give it in a nutshell, you earn while you learn. So you can see my trades. I can teach you how to trade, so you're not just relying on me, but at the same time, you are not waiting to go through, big manual before you can start. So, you can trade under my wing, and basically you can watch, copy, learn, and earn. So I think that's a pretty good way. Now, as I've already said, I'm going to be in London the 1st of June. From about 12 noon until 5:30. It's not essential for you to attend. If you don't attend, I'll still send you the slides that I'm going to use. So we basically have lunch, go through a presentation, then we look at real markets, we'll look at live trading, we'll bring up ShareScope, go through any questions you have, and they're really sort of fun days. And these are just small groups. They're not like the 200-300 type of big seminar, it's just a small group. So I think, you can probably gather, one, I'm down to earth, and I believe if you take me on as your mentor, it's going to make a massive difference to you. I think some of you might know or you've seen, I've lost a fair amount of weight over the last X amount of years. I've always yo-yoed up and down in weight, and I've never been very, very good at going to the gym or following an exercise plan until I got a personal trader. And having a personal trainer has made a big, big difference because it gives me a mentor and it gives me somebody to work with. And I like to think I can do the same for you. And, yes, we're going to have some rough markets. We've already had a little bit of choppiness at the start of the year. And I think it's like Warren Buffett said, it's only when the tide goes out you discover who's been swimming naked. Now, you say you get access to my monthly trading statement. So this is my longer term account. And yes, that is nearly $16 million. This is not made up. This is real money. And you'll be able to basically see all these trades as well as some of the smaller companies as well. And as I say, I'm here for you. It's not a case of I'll take your money, you'll never hear from me again. That is not the case. And if you've already emailed me in the past, you know that. So yes, it is a fair amount of money. I'm not going to say it's not a fair amount of money, but it's money that you can recoup back pretty quickly. Investing in yourself, it's much better than investing in something that rusts, rots, or depreciates. And then, obviously, once you make the money here, then you can buy the nice things with that. So, yes, it is a fair investment, but it's an investment in yourself. Now, if you've got a £2 coin in the UK, if you've still got carry cash, and have a look on the side, it says standing on the shoulders of giants. And it comes from Isaac Newton, and if I've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. And I think that's what the Millionaire Trader gives you. It gives you a fast way to make money, and you stand on my shoulders. And really, you just make it easier on yourself. So it really makes sense that you have me on your side, you've got the personal support, you see my trades, rather than trying to do this all yourself, which, as I say, £3,000, you can easily lose that in the markets very, very quickly. I know people that have lost that in a day, whereas, pay me the fee, it's going to certainly put the odds in your favour. Now, this is another thing that I'll give you as well. I still use ShareScope. I use ShareScope Plus. I also use FinViz. And I'll give you my exact setup and my exact filters, so you don't need to know anything about programming. So for instance, you see these little arrows here, these will come into your ShareScope, so you have exact buy and sell points. You don't have, these will automatically be generated, and you just do it with my filters. and it just saves you a lot of time. Because I think you can do all this all really in about 15 minutes a day, sometimes even less, as long as you've got the right tools to do it. So as I say, if you want to go further, you can access my advanced members tools, access to my updates, full support, and I say you can do everything in about 15 minutes a day, sometimes even less. We are not day traders, just to be clear. I spend a lot of time traveling. I'm on different time zones, and I don't want to be watching a screen all day. It's just not productive. Now, say if you go to www.millionaire-trader.com, you can read more. If you've got any questions, I'll come back to you, unlike most people. Email me at vince@finbets.com, or it might be a little bit if I'm in a different country, but I promise you I will come back. And as I say, if you want to learn more, just go to www.millionaire-trader.com. Hope to see you on the 1st of June. As I say, thanks for your attention.